LinkedIn, Dave Wilson, Ringer Hire Show. How are you, Miss Amy Stone?
I am awesome and I am ready for tonight.
I figured you would be. We got two guests that we had on the show for, God, it feels like years, it seems like, but it's only been months ago. But we did live interviews, and we're going to talk to these young ladies right after this video, and we'll be right back. Whew. All right, the day has finally come. Amy, I'm going to let you take this out and introduce these two young ladies because I know you've been looking forward to the show.
All right, so I am absolutely excited and honored to have both Wendy and Jen back on. We, Dave and I have started this months ago, and the whole goal was to pay it forward. And we decided that we would launch to, see if we could do like a live interview and broadcast this out to like 30,000 people. And we don't want any money, never have, never will. It's just really about all paying it forward. And Wendy, you were our first to come
Yep.
on, and so it was all new, and trying to figure out like what to do, how to do it, and make sure it was a good transition. And then we were able to have Jen on. And our Dave and I have talked over the time that
Yeah.
once we have people get jobs, we want to have them back on. And you two combined, and you guys are now on and going to talk about your experience. So I am super excited. I've been waiting for this for a while, and when you guys got your jobs, I was giddy and excited, and
Yeah.
know just what you've been through. And now with this day and age of how tough the job market is, it just makes sense to have you guys come on and share your story, because there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is not a freight train. There is hope. And I want you guys to be able to tell your stories. It's the good, the bad, the ugly, and to help others with their current story. So thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Jen, for joining. And I am again excited about this.
Yeah, and I felt like we were through the journey. Even though, I mean, all of us just kept in touch, and it would be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I got an interview. Hey, I got this. You got a text." And whether the show helped as much, but it was another tool. That's all it is. It's just another
Yeah.
tool, in your belt. Does it take one person? But I felt, like I said, excited the same way because I feel I know both of you because all these messages. I even got the text, "Hey, I got a job." I'm like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Okay." I said, but we're gonna just, like you said, Wendy, if you want to start out and introduce yourself again, and just talk about your great journey, and we're gonna keep this at a great conversation. We'll have Amy asking some things as well, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Thank you. You can hear me okay, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I am a project manager with a background in healthcare technology, operations, kind of just bringing that project across the finish line. I've worked in a whole bunch of genres, more than just healthcare, but I think healthcare is probably my strongest in IT, and it's probably where I'm wanting to just stay, thankfully, since I have a job now. But a large part of my experience, I worked closely to implement new and existing like software, applications, process improvements. So I think losing my job, you talked about, what's my journey? Losing my job was probably one of the most difficult and humbling experiences of my professional life because I didn't expect it. Nobody really does, but I was handling 8 projects at the time. Like I came from one meeting right into this one that just got slipped into with people that I thought, why am I meeting with these people? They're like higher up management. And so it put me in a season of uncertainty and it kind of just kicked the rug right out from underneath me. So
Yeah,
um
stress.
yeah, one day I was focusing on projects, and the next day I was trying to figure out how to navigate unemployment and rebuild my confidence and, you know, enter a very, very competitive job market that I didn't realize.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. So Jen, I want you to give us the same thing that Wendy gave, and then we're going to dive in some more questions.
Yeah, so I'm Jen Cottrell, and I'm very happy to be back. So thank you for having me. I've spent most of my career in sales support, account management, project launches, project management myself within CPG. So CPG is consumer packaged goods, and that's your everyday products that are on the shelf. So whether it's ice cream, whether it's household goods, whether it is foods, baby items, anything like that has to do with that. It's anything that's on the shelf that's consumer packaged goods, and that's what I work with. So I'm really the hub of the in between outside sales and inside marketing and operations and anything that's going on to make sure that I'm all about concept to shelf. That's always been my tagline. It'll be always my tagline. And that's the way it is. So I've started in manufacturing, and I take that product and put it all the way on the shelf. What are some strategies that we can get it there? So anytime that you go into a Walmart, a CVS, a Walgreens, and you see any sort of product, chances are that I've helped put it there with all the companies
Nice.
that I work for. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. And I help out. I wear so many hats. It's not like just one job. It's many jobs that I can
Right.
do, from forecasting to account management to there's just so many things that I could just list to you. Right now, I'm working on deductions, so it's something I never even thought that I would be doing. So it's taken wherever you're in CPG, it takes you to places where wherever it's needed, that's where you go, and that's kind of like where I am, jack of all trades.
That's it. Congratulate. Ernie says congratulations. Thanks, Ernie. He says congratulations on that. Does anybody know Ernie? I wasn't sure. Wasn't
No.
sure if anybody does.
Mm-mm.
Wendy, I just want to ask you if you had to come out and really say through this whole, I call it your journey there. You both look different now, don't they, Amy? It's just like I don't know. It's a different vibe,
Yeah.
and it does. It feels good to have that job. Hey, Wendy, what do you think besides that loss? Everybody goes through it. You've had that feeling. You were stressed a lot trying to figure out what you were going to do and trying to learn all that because you had your unemployment. Then you start applying. What did you find discouraging in those first week looking for a job? Like, I mean, what did you spend going on that Indeed, going on all these job boards, and how? If you explain that, what you went through with that.
I think one of the most frustrating things that I personally encountered was the lack of transparency and communication throughout the hiring process. It felt like in the beginning, it didn't matter where I turned. It was like, I felt like I was out there on an island all by myself. It was kind of brutal. I invested like hours I started out by trying to tailor each of my applications and research the companies and I never did get to the interview part, so I had nothing to prepare on. I was just constantly trying to reinvent myself,
Yeah,
and all I got was no response, or I was left waiting without any updates. So it was just very challenging, very
that's it
lonely
on that Indeed, especially like every day you were probably up there looking and looking.
for
Jen
hours.
and yourself too, and then I'll let Amy what you felt that first thing was the job
Yeah,
search.
so the first couple of weeks, I got to tell you, like, I was so shocked when it had happened to me. I mean, I know that everybody is shocked, but I mean, I really was. And I didn't see it coming. There were so many things that had been leading up for the week that were exciting for the company that I was with. They had mentioned my name. I had just gotten, I don't know, I would turn into not management, but I became a manager. So I changed my role. I got promoted, and next thing I'm being told that they're going in a different direction. So I was really, really shocked by that, and I got to tell you, it really took me for a loop. I probably didn't job search for like the first couple of months because I couldn't do it. I was just so upset by it. And then once I did, I was able to, get it together. And then I was like, what am I getting into here? What is going on? The competitiveness in the job market was just something that I have never seen. And it's not like I've never had a job before or I wasn't job searching before, but what I had seen out there was so new. It was the vibe and what everyone was going through. Everyone was going through the same stress. And the other thing too is that the people who were working or people who are retired or people who are not in this don't understand it. They're like, why can't you find a job? What's going on?
I heard
And
that.
yeah, and so I'm like, it takes a lot of work, to get up every day. And for me, I'm a mom, so I had to drop my son off at school, and that was my full-time job, was looking for work every single day. So when I was in it, I was in it, but I definitely took a break in the beginning because I just needed to lick my wounds a little bit and just come back and be healed. And I was, and it
Right.
took me still a long time to find a job after that. But honestly, between the competitiveness and these AI bots that are coming out now and dressing up as recruiters and
Yep.
putting your resume into a black hole, it goes into a void and you don't know where it ends up. And so anyway, I think I've probably been through the ringer of everything that I've seen from start to finish, and then there was some tricks that I learned along the way, but we'll
Mhm.
wait till we get there.
Right. Shoot. Um,
Yeah. So, that's one thing that I've heard a lot is like looking for a job is a full-time job. And I don't know that if you have never been unemployed and going through that, it's grueling. I mean, it's grueling.
yeah.
And so, like, how long were you looking for your forever position? Um,
So, like I said, I had taken the 6 months off, and so I would say probably a little over a year, maybe a
yeah.
little bit more than that,
Yeah.
that I had taken. So the first couple of months into it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna, because usually I can land a job, no problem. So like, oh, I'm gonna get this job, so I'm not gonna worry about it. So in the
Yeah.
beginning, I was kind of like, very, very positive, and I'm gonna land it, so I don't have to spend a lot of time here. And then all of a sudden it just hit, and it was like, that is not the case. So then it went on longer and it went on longer. And I showed up every day, and just like what Wendy was saying, I customized every one of my resumes. And I did get I got to the first round, the second round, but I didn't hear anything back. I was
Yeah.
ghosted many times. I thought I had gotten the job many times. There's just so many things that even if you follow up, you don't hear anything. So the communication out there and the transparency, like Wendy was saying, is just unbelievable. It's like there's so many people that are looking for jobs
Yep.
and not enough jobs to support it,
Yeah.
that it's real tough competition out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Wendy, how about you? How long were you looking before you landed your forever job?
I did something similar to Jen. Again, I was just as shocked as she was. So I kind of went through that grief process. I was kind of like
yeah.
shocked,
Hard part.
and then I was sad, heartbroken, and then I
Yeah.
was mad because, and I went through the whole thing.
Right.
And I did that before I even started looking for a job because I thought, I got to get my head on straight first before I can get out there and show the best side of myself. And
Right.
I kind of had a personal thing. I was laid off in October, so by the time I went through all those things, my daughter had just had her first child, so I was a new grandma. So I kind of
Oh,
buffered that and thought, I'm just gonna take a little bit of time and be with
Yeah.
them for a while. And then the holidays came, and that was, I think every year that's probably gonna be a bad time to look for a job.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that's
couldn't
hard
get
at that
any
time of year.
traction at all. Couldn't get
Yeah.
anybody to talk to me or anything. So I just said, "I'll forget it. I'll start January 1st." And then things started really actually picking up.
Right.
But it was during that time where I kind of stepped back, like Jen said, and I kind of figured out, there's something different about this job market. Let me learn what's the scam? What's the game?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to play whatever's going on? And then it
Right,
took me about 2 months to kind of try and figure it out, and then,
right.
reinvent myself the way
I'm
that
gonna
it
let
needed to be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let both of you, Jen, if you want to read this and take this question, and then if you both want to answer it, that'll work. Jen, if you want to go.
Oh, you want me to? Okay.
Yeah. So it says, I heard when you mentioned you had to reinvent yourself early. Is there anything different that you did to make yourself more marketable? Maybe a new certification, maybe diverting careers.
So if you want me to take it,
Yeah.
I did a lot. And it wasn't so much that I got a certificate. I really wanted to. I really wanted to get my PMP. Unfortunately, I couldn't due to finances, but that was my number one thing I wanted to do. But I thought of other things to do, right? So the first thing was that I had to come in looking at it differently, right? So I stepped away for a little while and I said, you know what? I'm giving my energy and I'm giving my resumes into a void and I don't know where they're going. So let me just start doing something a little different. So that's when it came out, right, with the one pager that we talked about.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to publish that. And I took my top 25 companies and I already had that one pager and then I had a card to go with it and I put it inside. I sent it out,
I love
stamped
that.
it to 25 different companies just to kind of do something different. I also, it was like Thanksgiving Eve, and that's when it was my lowest, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I took a glass of wine and I said, I'm going to look for jobs, and that's what I did different.
Hmm.
And I said, that's it. From there, I'm going to start looking at things differently and only putting in for what is intentional, right? So before it was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And now it was like, you know what? I'm only going to do what I really want to go after, all the companies
Yeah.
that I want. So, and then I did it in buckets too, because sometimes I would get panicked. I would be in fear a little bit, and I would say, okay, here's the jobs I'm going to put in for just to put in for them, but here's the jobs that I'm really going to be serious about. What I did also differently was that I started to reach out to people, and people would say to me all the time that this is like a network environment. You got to start networking instead of putting your
Yep.
resume in.
Yep.
And so what I did is I reached out to people and I thought, network, I don't really have a lot of LinkedIn people like that I'm connected with. What do I do? So I
Yeah.
started to grow it and I thought of different ideas of what I can do that was different. So I started to reach out to the HR people. I started to reach out to COOs. I started to reach out to anyone that would hear me on the side. If somebody
I like
got a
that.
new job or was promoted on the side, I would say, congratulations, here's my resume. So I would do that too. Any way that I could be heard or seen, that's what I was doing. So that's just some of the things. I'm sure I could go on and on, but
Awesome.
they
Thank
probably
And and Wendy, I know you want to add to
Um,
that too.
I do something different, actually. All that was important, and along the way, once I met Jen, it was kind of like about almost every week, if not every other week, we'd touch base and go, "How's it going? What'd you try? Well, how's it going? What'd you try?" So I copied her one pager and put mine out there too, and um, I found the most traction from, I don't know if you call reinventing myself, but I got tired of doing hours of resumes. So I learned that out there's this ATS system that's really, really, really important and really, really popular. And that's how you get past the first level of, sorry, we went with someone else. And, you get, sometimes I would get those emails like in 12 hours. And it's like, no way could they even look at my resume and figure this out by then. So that was just missing the mark. So I
That makes so much
I
sense.
I had a
Yeah.
career coach that actually helped me understand how to work the ATS system and put my resume into a format that it had to hit keywords, and what are those keywords in the job description. So once I started getting a certain level, like a certain percentage that you'd run your resume through, if you wanted to be this job, you'd run it through and it'd say, you're a 67, you really need to be 85. Then you'd go and you'd know how to tweak your resume to make it
Yeah.
valuable and make it pop so that, a recruiter will take a look and go, oh, lots of keywords here. She's in the good pile, not the one that you get, an email in 12 hours saying, sorry, we want somebody else, that type of
Right.
thing.
If you want to answer this, both, I think they're talking about that one page. You're talking about how you put the picture, the image, the black,
Mhm.
open to work, Ismar. And Ismar, I can send you a copy of that after the show. I'll send that to you.
Yeah,
It's
that would be great. I
yeah,
think getting that out there for
I'll
sure.
Yeah.
throw that to you, Ismar. I'll message you and send that to you. So, Amy,
Yeah. So, what are you'd mentioned a lot about you just getting through the ATS and then some scams and whatnot and trying to learn how things are happening in today's world. So take us through a little bit of your journey on some of the frustrations that you encountered, and like what did that look like?
I'll go first because I can attest to all of it. I feel like I walked into it every time I would apply. It would be like, dang it, really? I'm smarter than this. How did they get that? So there's a lot of AI interviews, like Jen mentioned, and I actually thought it was just, the up and coming way of vetting out a person.
yeah,
So I did some of those. They never did amount to anything to the next step. So I didn't put a lot of value into it, even if they said, "Oh, we'd like to send you off to the next step," and it's an AI interview. If I had time, I'd do it, but a lot of times I would skip it once I figured out it was just an empty vat.
Right.
Um, but I got a couple of two scammers, what I call scam things, and one of them was, you're excited because you get this email and somebody emails you that looks
I know.
credible,
That's
that
interesting.
they want to take you to the next level, but it's all via a team site. Like you got to plug in and you have to answer their questions via typing instead of like a Zoom call. So I thought,
That's
well,
weird.
okay, maybe that's weird, but maybe, I hit so many weird walls that I thought, okay, this must be today's world or whatever. So I went all the way through like a 45-minute interview back and forth with answers and like that. After that, of course, you get the job. And then after that, they want to know when your first day will be. So I was still,
That is
playing the
crazy.
game. And
Wow.
then in order to start the first job, they needed your bank information to pay you. And that's when I went, oh,
Oh my God, I've never heard of that.
uh,
That's insane.
yeah, there's no
Wow.
W-4, there's no forms to fill out. Why can't, so that was a scam that I almost tripped right into because I was doing so well on the interview. So, uh, yeah. And then there was one more, and I will say this because I do this to the even day. I still get emails and I like to check them to make sure that they're really the scam that they say they are.
Mhm.
Um, I got an interview at Nvidia, which is like a huge company. I thought, oh my gosh, how exciting! I don't even know if I'm smart enough to be a project manager there, but I'm going to take that interview. And it started down the same. The guy wanted to talk to me, but then he had to change it, and it just felt like if you're interested in me, like you don't delay this. And I started learning from reading everything online that it's good to take the back part of their email address and throw it into ChatGPT or Copilot and go, is this really an email for NVIDIA? Is this really an email
Wow, and it
for
says it? It gives you
Ralston
the
Purina, whatever? And it tells you, yes, this is legit because I've actually done one that was legit. It was an HR Workday ad, whatever it
wow.
was. But then there were two of them that were like, it was like NVIDIA I.net, or it looked just perfect
Right.
except they had one letter off, one letter added, and I just started throwing it into ChatGPT and then basing, do I take the interview or not on what ChatGPT said. So
That's
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
yeah.
Jen, what about you?
Yeah, I didn't experience it to that level. Like I never got to like a job offer or even getting to like the next phase of, the hiring process. But I did get a lot of people that came to me, not people, but the AI bots that would reach out to me through email or through my messenger or
Right.
whatever it may be on LinkedIn. And I didn't know if they were for real or not. Like they looked so real, like it
Yeah.
was hard to tell. So then at that point in time, that's when I threw it in Chat GPT. I call her Chatty, and I throw her in there, and the next thing it's yeah, this doesn't sound real. It doesn't sound right. So and they would list it out, and they would tell you what it is. Okay, this person doesn't have a legit email, or look at
It's
how
amazing.
many
I didn't even think of that.
associated with that. Yeah. So it is unbelievable. So like if I didn't have Chat GPT, I don't know what I would have done through this process. So that's the first thing that I would tell anybody that's job searching right now. Get yourself, it's for free. You don't have to pay
Yeah.
for it. And anything, all of your resumes, all of your questions, you can like literally do interviews with Chat GPT, and figure out like where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and all that sort of thing. So for me, like again, I didn't have that many experiences with the AI as far as like that, but the robots I did, and for them to come through and pretend like they're humans, I'm like, I didn't want to be rude at first because I was like, oh, are you a person? I want to make sure you're like, you're a robot
That's crazy.
before I say anything. And then I would say, are you real? Because you don't sound like you're real. And then I wouldn't hear anything at all. Like they would be gone. So I'd play
Yeah.
around. Like after so many times of getting it, you just like start to play back. And that's what I did.
Oh my God, Wendy, how did you handle when you got those? I know both of you have gone through where you got that first interview, then that second one, and you really were excited. And how did you handle? I know it's kind of a weird question, but how did you handle that rejection and get over that to get to the next one? Like I think I've been in that feeling too. And was there a certain way that what you did that made you feel better afterwards to just keep going? Because I know a lot of people have gone through that, and some of them get really upset because 2, 3 interviews and then nothing. And I think Jen, nothing. You hear zero.
Exactly. Um, I think it's more of a cliche, but I think the important thing is to listen to yourself. Like I tried so hard to not take the silence and the rejection personally. I do have my PMP. We both know we're intelligent. We both
Right.
assumed we just, I don't want to say walk into a job, but if you're good in your craft, there should really be no reason why somebody out there's a million jobs posted
Yep.
out there that why can't I have one of them? So I
I love
really
it.
tried not to take it personally. And
Oh my God.
because I thought some of them are hiring on timing or some of them are, whatever they have on their side, that I just tried to make sure that it didn't diminish my ability, my psyche, because it can just mess with you after a
Yeah.
while where you think, I'm just apparently not good enough. I don't know. Maybe I just need to not work or whatever, and then
Right.
I'd wax and wane and go, well, I can't do that because, I
Right.
just can't.
Right.
So, I think it helped me be more resilient and feel like I do have professional purpose. It's
Right.
just I I had to really reflect on my each experience and not take it personally. And I know that sounds like such a cliche, but there is a job out there for everybody. It's
Right.
just navigating all the fake out there that's a little rough.
On that part.
Right.
And Jen, I know you have something for that.
I always have something for that because I'll tell you, it was such a process. It was brutal. It was brutal out there. But yeah, so and the same thing, that Wendy is saying is exactly, how I went through it. It's like, every day you'd go through it and you'd get this rejection and, you think you would have it. And, I can't tell you how many times I was on a call getting an interview and they were saying to me, you're great,
Oh, wow.
so and so is going to take you next, expect a phone call, expect a follow up. And the next thing you know, either nothing, or I would get that follow up and it would say, sorry, we've moved on with somebody else. But it was like, why are you saying that to me? Right, like right to my face like that, but then not happening. I just didn't understand where the disconnect was,
Right.
because that's what happens, right? They pump you up and they make you think that this was great. It was a great conversation. You have the right skills. You have the right. This is a great culture fit. Everything that you need to be part of this company, and a great background. But then you find out you're waiting and you're waiting for this call, or you're waiting for this email to
It
come
goes
through.
over.
And next thing you know, it's like, oh, sorry, we're, and I just, that happened to me more times than I'd like to think that I could not believe that's what was happening. And not only that, it's not even just like how many times of being hired, or not hired, but just being interviewed and whatnot, but how many times that they'd say, oh, let me check on that. I had like one situation, I couldn't believe this. I had somebody that had set up an interview, and I literally got on the camera. I got on the camera, and I know, Wendy, you know this. Like when you go through it, you're studying like crazy. You're really trying to like
Yep.
make sure that you've got all your. I had paperwork everywhere. My I's dotted, my T's crossed. I'm like, for days. I've been doing this for days, like trying to practice like what I was gonna say, and really, and so I get on this call, and there's nobody there. So I'm like, is
I
it
had
me?
that too. A no-show.
A no
Yes,
show? And
no-show.
so I reached out to, because I thought it was a technical. I thought it was me. I thought it was like my computer. It's, getting older and whatnot. And so I then reached out, and they were like, so sorry, there must have been a miscommunication on timing or whatnot. So she's available. Now, they didn't reach out to me for like 3 days after that. And then they finally came back to me and they said, well, she's available on this day at this time. Okay, sign me up. All right, I'll do whatever I need to do. I'm going to get this interview. I get on again, and it's a no-show again. And I'm like, okay,
All
that's
right.
it.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that was like the biggest experience I had gone through as far as like that, because I was so close, because I had gone through, that was the leader. So that was the hiring manager. I had gone through two interviews prior to that with the same company. So I was like third interview, and this is what was happening. So I really thought I was going to get it. So it took me like at least 2 weeks to kind of get over that one. I was like, I can't believe, not only are they ghosting, not only, are they not like responding back, not only are they not being transparent, you have no feedback, you don't know what happened, they think you're great. And next thing you know, you have no idea why you're back out there, because you thought you were going to get it. So because they're not giving you any feedback as to like, what happened. So, yeah.
So, Jen, what did you learn about yourself during this process?
I learned a lot. I learned
Look at
patience.
Amy. She's over
I'll
there.
tell you.
Wendy. She's like, huh?
I learned a lot of patience. I learned resilience. I learned that, it's not my worth. I know that I'm worthy. I know what I bring to the table. I know that I am loyal, and that I show up every day, and I'm a great worker, and I've been at this for a long time. It's just a matter of getting the right job with the right fit. And like Wendy was saying, there's a job for everybody. So what you have to do is show up every day. You have to show
day.
up. And if you don't show up every day, that's okay. You can take a break. You can go and do what you want to do. And, if you have like an event that's going on, or something personal that's going on, sure, go and do it. But then come back, right? Because I'll tell you, if you keep showing up, it can't miss you. It won't miss you. You just have to keep showing up. And that's what is so frustrating about it, is because you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know the amount of time. Is it going to be a month from now? Is it going to be 6 months from now? If I show up every day with hundreds and hundreds of resumes and cover letters, when is it going to be my time? And so sometimes you have to, go in there and think, okay, that's it. Today is going to be my day, and try to be as positive as you can. And that's it. I'm going to get this job, and I'm going to land it. And if you don't, then you know what? The next day you wake up and you say, it's not me. It's because I'm looking for the right job. I'm looking for the right, and they're looking for the right person. They're looking, so it's a match. And
Right.
that's what the way you have to look at it is like that. I'm trying to match with them and they're trying to match with me, and it's out there. It's somewhere. I just got to show up every day to do it.
I loved what you said about just showing up. I think that is speaks volumes, and I'm just going to lead into my next question that I have. But Wendy, I want you to touch on that. What did you learn about yourself in this process?
I learned I'm really, really resilient, like she said. I think I'm more adaptable. I was able to pivot pretty quick. Like if somebody said do this, I'd try it. And once somebody told me how to start working that ATS system, and then there was one
Yeah.
other thing I learned about myself. I really started just taking what people fed me instead of trying to psychoanalyze it or go, what in the world? I would just do it because I was so interested in getting that next position that I thought, well, these people obviously, whether it's a career coach or a recruiter or whoever, sometimes it was LinkedIn people. There was some really cool
Yeah.
tricks I found on LinkedIn that actually helped get me an interview. It
Mhm.
didn't help me land the job. That's up to me, but it did get me in the door at least.
Nice.
So I could go and start expecting more interviews at the end of it. But I also learned that, and I know this again, it's easy to say on this side of the house, but my worth isn't defined by my job title or my employment status.
Right.
I was extremely challenged because I was two weeks from losing my unemployment when I got my job offer. Like
Oh,
I was at the very, very end of going, oh no, what am I going to do now?
yeah.
You just have to pay certain bills and hope for the best. But it challenged my confidence, but it also, I think, strengthened my patience, um, my empathy for those that are unemployed out there. It's not easy. It's not like you're just going to turn and get a job. I just don't.
Right.
You'll be very fortunate if you do, but there are definite tricks and tips that you can use that I thought, ooh, now we're rocking and rolling a little bit. So it kind of helps you out.
And
Very
that's
good.
why I got to
So,
give you both credit for coming on the show like that. I mean, that just, we get people that say no, and I get it. Some of them think, but it's like this, it's a great conversation.
mhm.
And, it all it takes is that one time. If somebody sees it, even the video, like you said, you both tried so many, Amy, you saw, they tried different things. We were all in those messages, all four of us all the time.
Yeah.
You could tell they're disappointed, or you could tell when they were excited
Yeah.
over the part. If both of you had to say between like LinkedIn and your job boards, what did you find more for in your experience, Wendy, and then Jen, about where you felt you landed more opportunities and was easier to navigate, if I would say it like that?
Two things. And I don't know, I'd probably can the rest of it. One was LinkedIn, posting every week, doing that one pager. I got some feedback out of it. Um, and when I wanted a job or I found an opening, and
Right.
then you go and you tailor your resume and do that whole ATS thing, I would send it. Then I would go and I would stalk that company, and it was through LinkedIn that I
Right.
would get the HR person. And even if
Yep.
they had three HR people, I'd send the same thing to each of them, and I'd spearhead that person, and I just direct it out to that person instead of just hoping for the best. I got a lot of traction. I got 2 or 3 interviews out of that alone. Just I call it stalking, but
Right.
having a networking conversation.
Networking. There you go. Yeah.
So I'd say LinkedIn, and I got the job I'm in from a recruiter. I started going, you know what? What are all the recruitment agencies from my job
Yep.
genre for a project manager? So I'm sure there's for sales, and there's some for secretaries, and there's some for whatever career field you want. But I did some nationwide ones. I did some back where I came from in St. Louis. I did some in Austin. I did my local ones.
Nice.
I don't know, I had probably about 20 of them. And then you know what I did? And I think that might be how I met Jen or a couple of them. On LinkedIn, every now and then you'll see somebody's post that says, hey, I'm just so down on my luck, and oh
Yep.
my gosh, this is why I'm down on my luck, and all my stuff is gone, and I really need a job, and does anybody have anything they can give me? Well, I looked at the 125 people that posted, and I
Right.
looked for who they should. Okay, here's a job. Here's a job. Maybe contact me. Well, I would contact them. I wrote them all down, and I would contact
All
them
right.
because I thought, well, at least they're live they're live, there's something that's current that might be of interest or a connection there instead of,
Okay.
just throwing it out there hoping for the best.
Right. Okay. Jen, we got a couple more questions, and then we're gonna end it here. But we got a couple more for you. So
Okay, so I think for me, I've tried every job board, whether it was LinkedIn or whether it was Monster, Indeed. I would trash all of those and just stick with LinkedIn. And people have a different view of that because, everyone always talks about the void, especially within LinkedIn. But, here's a trick, and I think Amy, you're the one that told me the trick. But if you're gonna send your resume out to LinkedIn, then make sure you're going on their website as well and putting your resume in that website. Because if there is an easy button on LinkedIn, that means that's exactly what it is. It's easy. That means there's the ATS. That means if you don't have the right buzzwords and the right keywords on your resume, it's going to hit you like right by. There's no way you're going to get it. And right now, it's the employer market. Like
right,
they
it is.
are they can make up the rules. They can say you have to have so many years of school, you have to do X, Y, and Z, jump through hoops to get this job. And some of us, we know we're smart, we know we're qualified, we
Right.
know we can do it. But if there's just so many other people that have that pedigree of what they're looking for because they can raise the bar. So for me, like I was saying earlier, I was reaching out to the COOs. I would submit right through LinkedIn,
See?
and I would go right to the COO, and I would send him a private message, and I would say, "This is who I am," and he'd reach out and he'd be like, "You are the person I want to hire. You are
See?
the person."
See? I love it. That's where it take, like in the beginning, if you ever thought you would have done that. Because
I
I tell everybody
never.
all the time, tag the hell out of the person. What is the worst thing that's going to happen, Amy?
That's
You're going
right.
to say, like, when we tag each other, Amy's
Yep.
tone was notified. What's the worst? If that person's looking for a job, hello, you have it on Indeed right there. You got a person. Why not reach out to them?
Yeah.
Man,
All right. So, what are the top five advice that you would give current job seekers?
Gosh.
here goes the thought
Talking
process.
about it. We've been
I
talking about
know.
it like just kind of throughout, of our little like things that we've been
Yeah.
doing. And I think that, for me, it's making sure that you are kind to yourself, making sure that you give yourself the grace that you need, and don't be so hard on yourself and try not to take it personally. Like I say, if you have to, not have to, you should go out and be with family members, be with your friends, have a night out. Don't think about it, shut it off. And then
Yeah.
on that Monday morning, go back to it and try again at a different angle. Come in with different energy. Don't go in and just be like, oh, I got to go do this again. If
Yep.
you're feeling that way, and if you're really feeling that way, then you should be entering it in a different way. Whether that's the one pager, which if you go to my LinkedIn account, it's right there. I'm sure Wendy, it's on yours too. You can scroll through it, and the one pager is on there for anyone
Yep.
to see. Um, and the another thing that I didn't think about until, and I wish that I would have thought of this like while I was out there, was maybe if you had like a friend that was in the same area, not area, but in the line of work you are, and you know each other, you could like actually like look at each other's resumes, and you could
Right.
look at each other's posts and
Mm.
kind of like go through it together, or say, hey, can you put this one in for me, or hey, do you think that this one's a good for me, and just kind of like reach out to a friend. And maybe the people are doing that today, but I know that
Right.
that's not something that I did. I wish that I would have like leaned on more people like that. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot that you can be doing. So that way, there's like little tricks and,
Yep.
and things that I could give advice to. But one thing that I'll offer here is if there's anyone out there that just doesn't know what to do, or they're just caught in the cycle and of this loop, and they can't get out of it, you could please feel free to reach out to me. I would be
Yeah.
more than happy to help guide you through. I mean, I'm not saying I would get you a job or I can help you to do that, but at least give you some ideas of bounce. That's how me and Wendy met, and Wendy
Yeah.
and I have been talking like almost every week, since then, and we've gotten to know each other really, really well. And it's because we were bouncing ideas off one another. So if there's anyone out there that needs that, I just wanted to let you know that, definitely reach out to me. I'm
And
very,
Jen, you
yeah.
can let people know too. I had that done in Canva for me. So if you have anybody that wants it, you send them the picture of that and put your information, send it
Yeah.
to me. All I gotta do is type it in. I have it all made. I had it made up on Canva. It's just put the image in there, what you do, and I think a lot of people will like that. I tell
Oh,
people all the time to do it, and I'll say I'll do it for. I send it to them, and then it's like 3 or 4 days later. It's like, well, where's it at? I'm like, it's free. I said, I'm not going to spend like I keep asking you. You must not want a job if because it really looked professional. I think that really just stands out from anybody. So, all right,
Yeah.
I'll let you go, Wendy, or else I'll talk forever.
No, you're fine.
Uh,
I did a one pager, and I think mine was actually in PowerPoint, and I did
yeah.
it differently because I didn't want to just copy everything that Jen was doing. So
No, I saw yours. I showed yours to a girl last night. I showed your one. I said
it's
to her,
just a different flair, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what's the coolness about both of us. We were both project managers, and I thought, oh, I don't know if I should contact her because I don't want her thinking there's competition. And she's in such a different field. I would have no idea how to do shelf to whatever. And she probably would not have any idea how to do application software and IT project management. So what's so cool is we can just talk freely because neither one
Right.
of us are competition for each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But for everybody out there, I would tell them 5 things. I would say treat the process like a marathon and not a sprint. And the sooner you can figure this out, the better your psyche is going to
Better
be.
than they.
Because I assumed I would just walk over and 2 weeks later I get a job. So I was messed up for a little bit. So, and try and create structure in your days and keep moving forward, even when the responses are slow or like rejection happens. Um, I'd say if you have the opportunity, I had the opportunity given to me by my employer, but um, I found value in a career coach.
Yeah.
It wasn't an HR recruiter, but it was a lady that rewrote my resume, showed me how to get on LinkedIn, showed me how to stalk people, the HR recruiters, and showed me how to do certain things. Look up somebody's email, like you find Joe Blow, that's an HR recruiter at NVIDIA, but I don't
Right.
know what his email is. I don't know. Um, there's a website out there you can put their name and their company in, and it just goes,
God,
"Bloop, there's your email."
that's
And so I'd use
that's
it, and then
insane.
when I got responses, I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is cool." So that was something I used
Right.
to stalk those HR people and get a response.
Yeah. All right.
So
Love it. I
yeah,
got one more thing for you, and then I'm gonna let Amy end it here. But I want to thank you both. I mean, I know Amy was really looking. I was too. I mean, it was because we feel like we've been through this journey with both of you. This whole took months and months and staying on a thread. And then when Amy said about doing this, I said, "Oh my God, this would be great." But we had to wait till you both got the job. So now you got both got the jobs, and then we had to set the time. But if you know anybody, you know us. If you know anybody, please send them our way. It's great to get on here, and I think it just builds. When they say they don't want to do an interview, I think they really would, but they're afraid. They're like, "Oh my God!" It's not like Amy gives you great questions, and you're prepared for it. And I want to thank you both for coming back on and sharing your stories because I learned some things tonight. I was like, Jesus, I didn't know about all that stalking and stuff. Not the stalking, but I mean the scams like that. I never would have
yeah.
thought that. I mean, who would have done? But on my end, thank yous both so much. Amy?
Yeah, I just wanted to real quick, if you had to do it all over again,
Oh,
what would you do differently? Is there anything that you
I
now,
like that
knowing what
question.
you know now,
I like
what
it.
would you do differently sooner? Wendy?
Oh my gosh, me first. Okay, I would probably do a couple things. I would start networking faster, instead of assuming I'm just going to be the hidden talent on LinkedIn. That way you're not wasting so much time,
Yeah.
and you're taking some of what we've just gone through, and you're going, okay, I'm going to take what they have at face value, and I'm going to roll with it because right now, I think it's very true, and I actually stopped treating every job posting like it's the one. Like
The
I
one.
heard it in Jen's voice. She was so you get so worked up and you're so like on edge. Um, that I just started forgetting which version of me I was trying to get out there, that I just, I don't know, I felt like I was running a full-time marketing, campaign on myself,
Yes.
and nothing was happening. So I just figured I'm just going to treat each job like a project, apply, stalk, go on. Apply, and I started doing that, and my resumes got a lot faster, and I was able
Nice.
to kind of get more out.
Okay,
Love
thank
it.
you. Jen?
Yeah, so it really is like we're saying, like a full-time job. So you have to treat it like that, you know? Don't treat it like, um, like taking it personally. I know that that's what we're saying. That's like the common theme of like trying not to treat it like, um, you know, it's going to happen eventually. It's going to make its way to you. You just, like I say, you have to show up in order to do that. So I think that that's basically what I don't know how much more I would, do differently, because I really feel, and I know this might be cliche, but I really feel like that's what made me who I am right now and
Yep.
today,
I
right?
agree.
So I know that I wasn't ready to go back. I wasn't ready to go back to work when I was looking. Like, I was going through the motions of it, but I know that I was not ready to go back. And now I am absolutely 1,000%. I am refreshed. I had spent the time that I needed to with family and friends.
Yep.
I had spent time on myself. I did the things that I wanted to do. And I think that if the last thing I would have done is not been so hard on myself, because I was always like, when is this going to happen? When is it going to happen? I want it to happen today. And I wish that I would have lightened up a little bit. I wish I would have known that, you know what, it's going to happen at some point. You just have to show up every day in order to do that. And I think that the last thing I would have done is started sooner instead of starting. But I know what I'm saying, so it's kind of contradictory to what I'm saying, right? So I know I had to get my head on straight before I started to look. But I wish it did take so long to get my head
Takes
on
it longer.
straight. Yes, yeah.
To get it going. Oh, one, yeah,
Cindy?
another one there.
I just have one real quick one, because
That's
it
okay.
was where I got most 90% of my interviews at. And I wish I would have done this sooner. I might have not had to gone through the AI and all that other bot crap and stuff like that. Um, Take your genre, whatever it is you do, and go find all of the recruitment agencies that are looking for
Yeah.
positions, looking for people, and contact them all. Have Zoom meetings, go out there and introduce yourself. They're all very eager. They were all very
Sure.
eager
They
to
get
talk
paid
to me.
money.
They get paid to get me a job. And I would
Yeah.
always say, I'm going to do my best to make this a really quick turn for you, because I knew they were going to get paid. The faster I got a job, they got paid. So
Yep.
it's kind of a win-win. And I got probably 90% of my interviews through
Love it.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm going to thank you both, though, and I wish you both luck. Well, I know we're all being in touch. That four-way conversation is probably going to stay on there all the time, And
Yeah.
but I think this was a great show tonight, Amy, because it really, what a way to. If somebody was actually like that young lady there, I'll send that to her.
Yep.
She was interested because everybody knows that feeling. It can go away just like that. Same with myself. It doesn't matter. It happens
Yeah.
just like that. Then you're like, wait a minute here. I'm just sitting here talking about this, and then bam, your
Yeah.
life can change just in an instant. Whether they lay you off now, and like you said, it's an employer's market right now. It's tough, and you got to really, like you just said, if somebody if you're out there listening, you got to watch this show, because for what these ladies just said, I think you nailed it. Every little thing that can help, and I learned some stuff tonight. So, all right.
Thank you.
So I'm going to play this video, and then we're going to say goodbye right after this. So I will see everybody soon. All right. Bye bye.
Okay.
There we
Bye.
go.